Hello, Maverick fans. Welcome to another edition of the Mavpuckcast. I am Jon. I am here with Bridget. We are here to talk about all kinds of fun things. Our trip up to St. Cloud State this last weekend, which was a great time. We're also going to be previewing the upcoming series at Baxter Arena against Minnesota Duluth. And we've got a number of fun things to chat about today. So before we get started on that, we've got to give a shout out to our official merchandise sponsor on the Mavpuckcast this season, Lawler's Custom Sportswear. Bridge, you and I, of course, as we talk about ad nauseum on here, are always wearing merchandise and gear from Lawler's Custom Sportswear. Yes. Speaking of our road trip up to St. Cloud State, there were a lot of UNO fans in attendance, a lot of player parents and relatives in attendance, and certainly a number of them were sporting gear from Lawler's Custom. Bridge.
Yes, we saw quite a few members of the Ludke family up in St. Cloud sporting 771 merchandise. And if you want to be one of them, that is someone sporting 771 merchandise, not a member of the Ludke family, you can pick up a snapback trucker cap or a cuffed beanie at Baxter Arena this upcoming weekend. Or you can visit the Lawler's store for the Ludke brothers, or under UNO Mavericks Ludke Brothers NIL on the Lawler's Custom website.
As we mentioned before, a very supportive family, but a number of great parents up there this weekend. Be sure to visit lawlerscustom.com online, their brick and mortar store on 84th Street. And the booth at the upcoming series at Baxter Arena this upcoming weekend. Before we talk about that series against Minnesota Duluth, we've got to talk about our series up at St. Cloud State against the Huskies. Big road matchup for UNO. They were playing on the big ice up there, playing on the Olympic ice sheet. They are the only team in the conference to still have the bigger ice. So it's always an interesting experience for the players to get to play on that. And going into that Friday game, you and I were both hopeful that UNO would have some success. We both picked splits this weekend. And in that first period on Friday, St. Cloud State led 1-0 on a goal by Adam Ingram. It was 1-0 St. Cloud after the first period. But that second period Friday night, Bridge, was a scoring explosion. Certainly UNO moved the puck better than they did during the first period. They put pressure on St. Cloud in our offensive zone. I thought it was some of their best offensive work of the season. But 5:34 into that period, Ingram gets his second goal of the night on the power play to put St. Cloud up 2-0.
Jesse Lansdale had taken a hooking call, which put Omaha on the penalty kill, and a dangerous team like St. Cloud, you can't give them that opportunity or they're going to capitalize on it.
But 8:07 into the second, Jack Randall gets the first goal for UNO. He narrows the lead to 2-1. Sullivan sets it up with a nifty pass across the crease, 2-1 Huskies. But boy, 11:02 into the second period, Zach Okabe puts St. Cloud up 3-1. It was just like a pendulum here, back and forth, because 13:52 into the second, Jimmy Glenn narrows the lead to 3-2. Bridge. Good to see Glenn get a goal.
Yeah, St. Cloud had turned the puck over in their own defensive zone, and Jimmy Glenn was able to hammer it home with a little help from Zach Erdahl, who was screening Bassey. So again, they got down, but they came right back and got another goal.
16:45 into the period, St. Cloud's Barrett Hall puts the Huskies up 4-2. Every time this happened, Bridge, I kept thinking, well, this is the dagger. This is it for UNO. They're down by 2 again. Can they come back? I didn't think they could, but 17:08 into the second, Omaha's Jacob Gavin narrows the lead to 4-3. Good to see Gavin have some offensive success.
For sure. And, Tanner Ludke really had a key play on that. He brought the puck in across the line and did kind of a slow toe drag, and Gavin just was able to poke it in. So now it's 4-3 St. Cloud.
And the scoring doesn't end there. 14 seconds later, UNO defenseman Nolan ties the game up 4-4. Great goal for the defenseman. His parents were in attendance as well, and he had a nice weekend up in St. Cloud.
He sure did. And boy, what a slick pass by Slipek to make that goal happen.
Absolutely right. So UNO ties the game up. It's 4-4. And then late in that second period, St. Cloud's Mason Solsquist puts the Huskies up 5-4.
Yeah, so at the end of two, Omaha had scored 4 goals. St. Cloud had scored 4 goals, but it was 5-4. St. Cloud leading, but I still felt like we were in this thing.
Absolutely right. As Bridget knows, I love to have to do a rundown of a period where 8 goals are scored. Not only is it hard to talk about, it's also hard to edit in, footage and player cards and things like that. But it was a lot of fun to be in the Herb Brooks National Hockey Center and watch a period like that. Third period Friday, 72 seconds into the third, UNO's Jack Randall ties it up for the Mavs on a breakaway. Boy, 5-5 UNO. 30 seconds later, Omaha's Ray Fust puts UNO ahead for the first time in the game. UNO leads 6-5 at that point. You and I are hoping that lead holds as we're sitting there in the arena. But you kept saying to me, John, I don't know if it's going to be enough. I don't know if it's going to hold. I think St. Cloud has another one in them.
I was right. Omaha had some chances, of course, before that goal to take us ahead 6-5. Bremer had some chances, and then Rollwagon dumped it on net from the blue line, and Fuss just got the tip. Like I said, throughout the whole game, this was a crazy, crazy game, and they weren't done yet.
Yeah, great pass by Rollwagon, who fired it up the slot, as you mentioned, from the Quick Trip logo. A little over halfway through the third frame, St. Cloud's Dylan Anhorn ties it up. Dylan is one of their Hobey Baker candidates, Bridge.
Yeah, we heard his name way too much this weekend. If I never hear it again this season, it'll be too soon.
So the game was tied 6-6. Lots of excitement the rest of that third period, and there was something of a controversial call toward the end of regulation.
Yeah, there was a stoppage in play, and Omaha challenged a call on Jesse Lansdale that happened right in front of the St. Cloud bench. He took a hit to the head, but after a lengthy review in which the St. Cloud announcers felt sure that it was going to be called a major penalty, the officials came back on the ice and deemed that there was no penalty at all, which, if there had been a major called at that point with 3 minutes left in the game, that certainly might have changed the complexion of the rest of regulation.
It was quite a hit that Lansdale received near the blue line there. I remember commenting on that when we were sitting there watching that. So the game was tied 6-6 at the end of regulation. The game goes into overtime, and the Mavs get a power play opportunity early in overtime, Bridge.
I said I didn't want to mention Dylan Anhorn's name again, but thankfully he was the one that took a penalty. I believe that the officials felt that he didn't do enough to stop his momentum and crashed into Lacosi in the net. And as a result, Omaha had a rare overtime power play, putting them 4-on-3 in that overtime period.
39 seconds into overtime, Tanner Ludke gets the game winners, assists to his brother Griffin Ludke and Matt Mueller. The Mavs win. An exciting game, 7-6. Certainly early on in that game, we thought that St. Cloud might come out and roll.
Omaha has been great in those close games this year. One of the things that I really noticed on Friday night especially was the defensemen jumping into the play. You had Gavin and LeMay and Mancini and Proctor all with shots on goal. They did win the faceoff battle, and that was a key component for the Mavs, as getting the control of the puck helped negate some of those situations where St. Cloud's speed really could have put them ahead.
Yeah, UNO moved the puck around well during the second and third period of that game, and certainly overtime. So good performance for UNO. Scoring has kind of come in dribs and drabs this season, so it was nice to see the floodgates open a little bit. Although I was worried going into Saturday nights that they wouldn't have any more goals left on the weekend. Interesting game going in. Goaltender Seth Isley was in net for UNO, the big veteran who transferred in from Lake Superior State. We've enjoyed watching him in net this season when he's had an opportunity for UNO. And St. Cloud started a different goaltender too. They did not start Dominic Bassi on Saturday night. They started redshirt freshman James Gray, who was getting his first collegiate action. Both of them big, tall goaltenders. So that definitely made things interesting heading into that first period. 3:56 into the first, St. Cloud Zach Okabe gets the first goal of the game. It looked like Seth Isley had it stopped between his blocker pads, but it just slid through into the goal.
Somebody called it on Twitter a leaker, and I think that that's probably an accurate term for it. It just kind of leaked across the goal line, and I know Seth would love to have that one back.
That's a tough situation to be in. We've seen those over the years. You think you've got it stopped, and then it just trickles right in. So tough break for UNO, but Seth had a good night. The Mavs had a goal opportunity in the period, but it was called back due to offsides.
Beautiful goal by Joe LeMay. That was challenged by St. Cloud for offsides with about 7 minutes left in the first period. And gosh, that could have just been a heartbreaker for the Mavs if they had not been able to recover from that challenge being successful.
It was a situation where Tanner Ludke was headed into the zone, but he was kind of skating backwards into the zone, and he entered the offensive zone just before the puck did. So it's a tough break for UNO, but like you mentioned, a beautiful opportunity there for Joe LeMay, a beautiful backhand opportunity. So it was 1-0. St. Cloud after one, just like Friday night. We were wondering if it was going to be an 8-goal scoring fest in the second period, but it was not to be. A few seconds into the period, St. Cloud nearly took a 2-0 lead, but it was called back for offsides, a very similar placement of that offsides call.
Yeah, and very interesting from that standpoint is that it took a long time to review the LeMay goal for the challenge, but this one, the officials came back fairly quickly and ruled it no goal for St. Cloud, much to the chagrin of the many St. Cloud fans in attendance.
9:30 into the second period, Omaha's Matt Mueller ties it up on the power play. Miller's shot banks off the skates of St. Cloud's Cooper Wiley, and it goes in the net. So kind of a funky, fluky little goal, but we'll take it, Bridge.
Good for Matt Mueller to be in the right place at the right time.
So it was 1-1 after the second period, all knotted up going into that third period. UNO had several opportunities in the third period, as did St. Cloud.
Yeah, shots were 30-21 at the end of regulation for both teams, and Omaha narrowed that quite a bit, but again, got wildly outshot by the Huskies on the weekend.
Yep, so the game stays knotted 1-1 after regulation. Once again, we're going to overtime. Those 3-on-3 overtimes are always stressful, especially when you are on the road. There were some great opportunities for UNO. Tanner Ludke had an opportunity off of a steal that Matt Mueller got in the closing seconds. We were all saying that he should have just shot it instead of passing it back. But he was being unselfish, and in that moment, I wish he'd been selfish and just put the shots on goaltender James Gray.
Yeah, you and I both made that comment, like, just shoot the puck. But, gotta love it when the guys are looking for opportunities to help their line mates look good. There were lots of Mavs that had opportunities in that overtime. Mueller had a chance after a St. Cloud turnover. Randall got a chance on 3-on-3 close in. But they just couldn't quite get there. They also got some puck luck, though, because St. Cloud whiffed on a couple of shots, too.
So the game was tied after the 3-on-3 overtime. In the NCAA record books, it goes down as a tie. In conference play, each team gets 1 conference point. So the game went to a shootout to determine who got the extra conference point. Ty Mueller scores the first shot for UNO in that shootout. Seth Isley stopped all 3 St. Cloud shots. UNO gets the extra point. As I mentioned, the game officially goes down as a tie. But UNO gets the extra conference point, gets 4 of 6 points on the weekend. So a really good performance for UNO up at St. Cloud.
Yeah, Omaha improved to 2-0 in conference play shootouts. Ironically, with both of those wins coming against St. Cloud State. So again, huge weekend for the Mavericks to get 4 out of 6 conference points and continue the march towards the top of the conference standings.
So we've got to pick our players of the week, Bridge. Who did you like? Boy, there was a lot of good performances, especially when you're dealing with a game where 13 goals are scored. Certainly from an offensive perspective, lots of great performances, 2 good performances in net, and a lot of guys who contributed, who did well as well.
Certainly a lot of players to pick from this week. It was a difficult choice, but my pick is graduate forward Jack Randall. You had actually picked Jack Randall as your player of the week when we faced Duluth last December. So this is kind of fitting going into UMD weekend. Last year, of course, Randall was a stalwart for the Mavs. He appeared in all 37 games. This season, he had a little bit of an injury bug that bit him. Last weekend against Denver, he was not in Friday night's game. I certainly think that we could have used him in that contest because he is heating up at just the right time. Randall had 2 goals out of the 7 on Friday night. It was Randall's first goal on Friday night that got the Mavs back in the game after St. Cloud had gone up 2-0. And then he had that unassisted goal in the third period that tied the game 5-5. And although he didn't appear on the score sheet on Saturday night, he did have a shorthanded chance late in the first period on Saturday during that Lansdale roughing penalty. So both for his performance on and off the score sheet, Jack Randall gets my nod for player of the week.
Yeah, Jack Randall, when I picked him during the Duluth series back in December, he had the big game winner during the Saturday night game in that series. So clutch goal in that series, and he came up big in the series against St. Cloud. As you mentioned, he had 2 goals on Friday. He is third on the team in points with 9 goals and 6 assists. So a big weekend from him. Always good to see our veterans perform. Like I said, there were a lot of guys to choose from, and I'm sitting here and I still haven't decided which of the players I'm going to pick. Certainly Seth Isley had a solid performance on the weekend. He's a tall goaltender, like I mentioned, with a long wingspan, and I think that really helped UNO on Saturday. He stopped 31 shots and stopped all 3 of St. Cloud's shots in the shootout. And he has a 2.61 goals against average and a .905 save percentage. But for the third weekend in a row, I've got to go with Tanner Ludke. Certainly, Tanner has had some success the past few series. He extends his point streak to 7 games. He had 1 goal and 2 assists on the weekend. He is second on the team in points with 7 goals and 11 assists. Just a great performance by Tanner this weekend up at St. Cloud Bridge.
Yeah, we had talked, of course, about his offensive performance with the Lincoln Stars last season, and he has certainly picked up the pace since the turning of the calendar on January 1st. And he has 2 power play goals on the season as well, both in the last 2 series, including that game winner in overtime on Friday night. So if they can keep him producing, that's going to bode really, really well for the Mavs down the stretch.
Yeah, like I mentioned, a number of guys had great performances. Senior Matt Mueller had 1 goal and an assist during the weekend. He's been banged up this season, but had a really nice series at St. Cloud. As you mentioned during the series breakdown, Ty Mueller continues his point streak, 6 games so far. He had 2 assists this weekend. He leads the team in points with 8 goals and 13 assists. Ty Mueller's a Hobey Baker candidate, Bridge.
You are correct, John. Ty Mueller has been selected as a Hobey Baker candidate. And we're going to give you guys the information. John will put it on screen on how you can vote for the Hobey Baker, because college hockey fans do get input into this round of the selection process. They were nominated by college coaches for the respective school, and then the fans get input into this round of voting. So you can go to hobeybaker.com/awards/vote for Hobey. You can vote once a day. You have to log in to the site, but logging in gets you a chance to win a signed puck from the Hobey Baker winner, which will be announced at the Frozen Four. So vote for Ty Mueller for Hobey Baker each and every day.
Nolan Sullivan, our captain, is up for the Hockey Humanitarian Award. One of the original Mavericks, Jason Cupp, received the Hockey Humanitarian Award when he was at UNO years and years ago. And you and I actually ran into Jason Cupp's dad when we were up in Duluth for that series up there back in December.
Yeah, so cool to see Mr. Cupp again after so many years. And so fitting that Nolan Sullivan is up for this award. For those who aren't familiar with the Hockey Humanitarian Award, there's only 18 athletes that are nominated for this award, and that's across genders and divisions. So great opportunity for Nolan here. It's presented annually to college hockey's finest citizen. And in researching this segment, I learned a lot more about Nolan's efforts that led him to be nominated for this award. For example, did you know that when he was a freshman, he shaved his head in a show of support for a children's cancer fundraiser?
I did not know that. I certainly didn't remember that happening. So that is very, very cool. Seems like just a top-notch individual. It's really important when you have a leadership team like we have with not just Nolan Sullivan, but Matt Mueller and Jack Randall. It makes a big difference on the team. So certainly a great honor for him, and fingers crossed that he is given the Hockey Humanitarian Award this year.
Yep, they'll announce the finalists for the award in February, and then they will announce the recipient of the award during Frozen Four weekend. So good luck, Nolan.
Good luck to Nolan on the Hockey Humanitarian Award, and Ty Mueller on the Hobey Baker Award. Continued success for both of them. But turning to our things you missed in St. Cloud. And there were a lot of fun things that you missed if you were not in St. Cloud. One of the things that we really enjoyed on Saturday night, one of the off-duty police officers that was at the game monitoring the visitor section. The Erdahl family was sitting in the front row of the visitor section on Saturday night. They loaned the cop for a brief moment UNO stocking cap and Zach Erdahl jersey that one of the family members was wearing to put on briefly during the game. We found out that the cop was originally from Plattsmouth, Nebraska, which for those who are not from Nebraska is just a short drive south of the Omaha metro area. Bridge.
Yeah, that was a cute moment, and I'm so glad that we were able to capture that, because again, it's just one of those fun things about being a fan on the road, being able to have a positive interaction with the event staff.
It was great. And the security people are not just there to monitor us, they're there to monitor the St. Cloud fans as well. As I mentioned earlier, Bill Pickett brought up two vans of students. Bill is UNO's director of spirit, tradition, and signature events.
You know me and how much I love to start cheers, and to have 15 students who are willing to scream loudly like I am is just a dream come true for me.
Yeah, normally we go on the road trips and it's just the two of us. And Bridget always likes to cheer loudly, even when it's just the two of us. And I'm super self-conscious about it the entire game, because she feels like she has to project like she's an entire cheering section of 50 people. So she was very happy to participate and lead some of the cheers. But one of the things that was really neat, Friday night, after that thrilling overtime win, the students wanted to go out and congratulate the players on the win. And they asked you, Bridge, if you knew where the bus was at the arena.
I am always paying attention, John. And so when we walked into the Herb Brooks Hockey Center, I noticed the WinStar bus was parked off to the side of the arena. So when Bill asked, where the team came out, I told him, that the WinStar bus was parked outside. So the students came up with this idea that they wanted to go out and celebrate and congratulate the team. And we headed out afterwards to meet up with them in the 30-degree temperatures. It was kind of an ill thought out plan. We didn't have any idea how long it would take for the team to come out. And those students being young, about half of them didn't have warm winter gear on. So it was kind of a chilly wait for them at that point.
Yeah, the boys who were wearing the red and black striped coveralls decided to go without shirts this weekend. You're young, you're tough, you're a fan of your team. I appreciate that. I like the way that they represent, although I would never do that because I was freezing as we were standing out there, and that was not a lot of fun. But the team eventually came out in dribs and drabs. The students were able to fist bump the players, congratulate them, give them high fives. That was really cool. The students wanted to sing the fight song for the players. It kind of reminded me of when we went up to Augustana back in November for UNO's game up there, where a group of our fans actually sang the fight song in the lobby after UNO won the game. Certainly the players and the coaches weren't around for that, but the students wanted to sing the fight song for the players, Bridge.
Yep. And when Coach Gabinet came out, I mentioned that to him. I asked if we could have the students come and stand by the door to the bus where the players were already on the bus and sing. And he said, I'll go get them. And so he went and got the players off the bus. And when he came up to me, he said, they want to sing the fight song with the students. And oh my gosh, this is going to be a memory for those students for the rest of their lives.
Get the boots moving, Curb.
Ready? Who's starting this? All right. Sully started. Sully. 3, 2, 1. We will fight for Mavericks. We will fight for E14. Everyone knows that the whole whistle blows. We will shout, we will yell, we will scream, go fast. We will fight for Mavericks. We will cheer so loud, we will know. We will run through the crowd, walk from Omaha. We will fight for UNO.
Talking about the leadership of Nolan Sullivan, Matt Mueller, and Jack Randall, those guys really advocated and lobbied for this to happen. And it's a neat experience for the students. When you and I were students at UNO back in the 1990s, they didn't do this type of thing for students. We never went on road trips to watch the team. We'd go to some of the UNO football games, but there was so much apathy around UNO athletics during those years. It's so nice to see somebody like Bill Pickett in a position where he can foster fan support from the students, because we've known a number of students over the past decade who, as they've graduated from UNO, they've become diehard fans because of these fan experiences as students. It's great how they interact with fans at Baxter Arena after the post-game fight song celebration. When we did our Mavpuck bus trips back in the days, I remember when we took a group of 50 up to East Lansing for a series, and UNO swept that series. And our group of 50, they were loud, they were raucous, they did a great job. And I remember after that series, after the sweep, Coach Kemp came out to our bus and thanked the fans for coming and congratulated them for a great performance in the stands. And it was just neat to have that kind of support.
It makes such a difference too when you've made that drive, and it's only 6 hours up to St. Cloud, but it's kind of a long and boring drive. To have the players acknowledge the efforts of their classmates in making that trip up there and participate in that joint fight song celebration, both Friday and Saturday night, is just such a cool opportunity for those students. And like you said, has the opportunity to get them involved in UNO athletics for life. So I really appreciate the efforts of all of the student athletes, also the staff that helped make it possible. Hockey SID Austin Rush was communicating with me to help us kind of figure out when the players were going to come out. And in fact, he came out on Friday night and said it was going to be a while. So Bill Pickett and Casey Wells and you pulled the vehicles up so we could all stay warm, at least in those 30-degree wind chills. And also Brian Suslow on Saturday night helped coordinate that. And of course, Coach Gabinet. We really appreciate, again, all of the people that made that possible, because it was truly a unique moment.
In addition to the fight song celebration, which was a fun extracurricular activity for us to be in attendance and to be able to document, we went to the St. Cloud women's hockey game on Saturday afternoon. This was recommended by St. Cloud State Hockey super fan Johnny McMahon, who is Fight the Pants on Twitter. We interact with him and a number of St. Cloud fans who are just great on Twitter every season. His hospitality was great. He was giving us a rundown on some of the interesting aspects of the Herb Brooks National Hockey Center. He works some of the games. So during the Saturday night game, he was working, but his hospitality was great. He brought you and I a couple of St. Cloud State's official game pucks as a souvenir. So that was very cool. But he suggested that we come to the St. Cloud women's hockey game on Saturday afternoon. It was at 1:00. He thought we might enjoy it. He's a big fan. I see him posting on Twitter about the women's team all the time. What did you think of the women's? That was the first time we'd attended a women's collegiate hockey game.
It was neat. One thing I learned is that the St. Cloud men's hockey season ticket holders get free tickets to the women's games, up to 4 per season ticket holder. We paid $10 each, which I was happy to pay. But we learned a lot, obviously, about this matchup. We ran into one of the St. Cloud player parents at our hotel, number 21, Avery Myers. And she's a senior. It just happened to be senior day for the women's team. We were also staying at the team hotel for Ohio State's women's program. So we got to see them come in after practices. We just had all kinds of connections to that game before we even went to it. And in a little bit of kismet, I was taking video for today's edition of the Mavpuckcast and just happened to catch this goal from St. Cloud's women's team, scoring the first goal of the game.
Like you mentioned, we were staying with Ohio State, which I think I know they're the top rated team in the WCHA, but I think they might be the top rated team in the country. And they were staying at our hotel. And when we went down for the free breakfast at our hotel, they were coming in and they were chanting something about waffles. So I don't know what that was all about, but it was kind of cute. I thought St. Cloud was going to be able to pull that game out, but they weren't. During both intermissions of that women's game, I was trying to get my steps in. So I did laps around the arena. And what's really cool about the Herb Brooks National Hockey Center, one of the things that we mentioned before this season on the Mavpuckcast, is the fact that they've got a lot of team memorabilia. And they have a Hobey Baker Award in the arena. And it's really cool to see that hockey team history. You know, Omaha Lancer fans might remember the player Duvie Westcott, who played back in the 1990s for the Lancer organization here in Omaha. And he played for St. Cloud. His Columbus Blue Jackets jersey was ensconced on one of the walls in the concourse. And there were a number of NHLers who had their jerseys up in the concourse. There was just a lot of really cool memorabilia there, Bridge.
Yep. And Duvie is groovy.
Duvie is groovy. Duvie was also better than a movie. I don't know who that fan was who made signs for Duvie Westcott when he was with the Lancers, but you and I went to a lot of Lancer games back during that era, and it was fun to see that jersey. It reminded me of those years, so very cool. As always, a great time traveling up to St. Cloud, one of our favorite road trips. We've been there 3 previous times, and we really enjoy interacting with the St. Cloud fans on Twitter. Of the NCHC fans, they're one of our favorite fan bases, and great to see Johnny Mack there. He's come down to Baxter Arena for a number of series. He came down when UNO was playing Miami one weekend. So it's been nice to get to know him on social media and in person. And we also got to meet another St. Cloud fan that we've interacted with on Twitter, Eric, who does not have his last name on his Twitter account. So my apologies, Eric, but good, solid St. Cloud fan that we got to meet and got to get a picture with this weekend. And the Herb Brooks National Hockey Center, fantastic venue. As I mentioned before, lots of memorabilia in the facility. There's a big bronze statue of Herb Brooks out in front of the arena that you and I took a selfie with. So cool town, cool environment to go to. And we're looking forward to going again in the future, Bridge.
We'll be there.
So turning to our next series, it's another key conference series against the Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs. As I mentioned earlier, the Mavs got 4 points, 4 conference points during that series up at St. Cloud. We're currently sitting in 7th place in the NCHC with 15 points. We are 5 points behind 6th place Minnesota Duluth and 7 points behind 5th place Western Michigan. And we play both of those teams the next 2 weekends. So we've got an opportunity here to make up some points. And we don't want to look ahead too far here, but Western Michigan is headed to Denver. So the Mavs have an opportunity. That 4-point weekend was big for them. They just got to continue chipping away, Bridge. North Dakota is tops in the conference with 32 points, and St. Cloud, who we just played, is in 2nd place with 28. So UNO right now is, 10 points ahead of Miami in 7th place. Not the best position to be in, but they've certainly got some opportunities here, Bridge.
Critical conference points on the line, especially these next 2 weekends, with an opportunity to make up some ground on both Duluth and Western. But like I said before, this is the time of the year where the top half of the pack tends to separate from the bottom half. So we definitely want to be moving towards that top half as we get down the stretch here.
Absolutely right. The Bulldogs have won 4 of their last 6 games. So they're starting to heat up. They're still a very young team. They swept Miami last weekend up in Duluth. They've gotten points in each of their conference series since the first of the year. UMD is 10, 11, and 4 overall, and 6, 7, and 1 in conference play. When we played them back in December on that great trip that you and I took up to Duluth, they were 3, 7, and 3 going into that series. And since our series, which we split with them, they have gone 6, 4, and 1. Like I mentioned, a young team. I was talking via DM with Bidco on Twitter, who is a Minnesota Duluth fan, who gave us some insights on that team the last time we played them this season. He was talking about how the team is starting to heat up. They performed really well last weekend, despite being without their top 3 centers, Bridge.
When we talk about the players to watch, I'll have something to say about that, but they seem to do this every year. They kind of get hot right after the first of the year as we get into the meat of the conference season. I say this all the time, but special teams especially are going to be critical for this series. UMD has successfully killed the last 25 penalties that they have faced, including a 5-minute major against Miami on Saturday night. They're actually 19th in the nation on the penalty kill, while Omaha is tied for 43rd. So special teams are going to be hugely important this weekend. We say it all the time, but Omaha definitely needs to stay out of the box.
Yeah, absolutely right. And you never know what our scoring is going to be like. And our success on the power play has been spotty this season. So it'll be very interesting to see how the special teams battle goes this weekend with Minnesota Duluth. Duluth is currently number 26 in the pairwise rankings. Pairwise rankings, for those who are not familiar, matches the formula that the NCAA uses to determine teams for the NCAA tournament, because it's all math in college hockey. There are no, people in cigar smoke filled rooms determining this. It's all based on mathematical calculations. Omaha moved up a spot this week to number 19 in the pairwise ranking. So we're getting close to that top 16. And like I mentioned last week, you really need to be in the top 13 or 14 to get an at-large berth to the NCAA tournament. So they need to continue having success. And the Bulldogs' success certainly starts at the top with veteran head coach Scott Sandelin. He was coach of that program when Mike Gabinet was a player on the Maverick hockey team. So he is 454, 379, and 99. Whew, it's a lot of games for Scott Sandelin, Bridge.
Definitely led them to a couple of national titles and always seems to get the most out of his players come that second half stretch of the season.
Never underestimate those teams. Players to watch, as you mentioned, certainly the player that I think fans are all going to be watching this weekend is Ben Steeves. The sophomore forward leads the Bulldogs in points with 21 goals and 8 assists. And then a player I'm keeping my eye on because I was impressed with his performance when we were up in Duluth back in December is freshman defenseman Aaron Pionk. He has 1 goal and 13 assists. He was a solid blue liner when he played in the USHL for the Waterloo Blackhawks. Bridge, do you have any players that you're keeping an eye on this weekend in the series against Duluth?
Yes, definitely Ben Steeves. He's a sophomore, but boy, he is really coming in hot this year. He and Denver's Jack Devine each have 21 goals, and he is tied for most goals and power play goals in the NCAA. So he's definitely on my watch list. Also, big news since the last time we played Duluth is that sophomore forward Cole Spicer had been ruled academically ineligible for the second half of the season. So he would have been on my players to watch list, but the 4th round pick of the Boston Bruins is not going to be in the lineup for the Bulldogs this weekend, which I think helps us. I'm also interested to see which goaltender that we get. When we were up in Duluth in December, senior goaltender Zach Seyskal got both starts in net. He's a big guy. He's 6'5", so definitely fills the net. Or we might see Matthew Thiessen. Fun fact about Thiessen is he had an assist against us in a game in November 2022. So no matter which goalie we get, I think we're going to get the best of the Duluth netminders. But we'll just have to see what our Mavs have to say about that.
Yeah, both of those goaltenders have seen time in nets for the Bulldogs. And so, as you mentioned, it will be interesting to see who we see. Certainly, we were thrown a curve up at St. Cloud this last weekend when the redshirt freshman who had not seen collegiate action gets in the game. So this time of year, there's lots of strategery, to coin a phrase from Saturday Night Live, that goes on with these teams as they're trying to get the most out of the skaters up front. So you never know who we'll see in nets for the Bulldogs, and you don't know who we'll see in nets for UNO. You assume it's going to be Simon Lacosi and Seth Isley, but you never know if you'll see one or both, or
if Will Craig will get in the net.
Yeah, if Will Craig will get in the net, who knows? But Bridge, a big series coming up here at Baxter Arena against Minnesota Duluth. This time of year, it's always fun, but man, it goes by fast. So for the fans and for the players, time is starting to dwindle down this season. So UNO has an opportunity to get some critical points, make a move, and do it in the comfortable confines of Baxter Arena. What do you think is going to happen? What's your prediction for the series? Do you think UNO is going to sweep? Do you think they're going to get swept? Do you think they split? Do you think something funky happens, like a win and a tie? Or what do you think is going to happen this weekend against Minnesota Duluth?
Well, UMD is getting hot, but I really like the fire that we had last weekend. I'm going to say that it's a sweep for the Mavericks in a couple of close games. But again, Omaha has to stay out of the box, and we definitely need some offense going. Friday night is pro night on the Omaha Hockey promotional schedule. It's an opportunity for Omaha hockey fans to showcase their favorite pro teams. We've been told, so wear your pro gear, and hopefully the Mavs can take 2 from the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing all of those UNO fans who own Jake Ginsel Pittsburgh Penguins jerseys, because there's a lot of them out there.
Bernie,
And,
we're talking to you.
Yeah, Bernie is a big Jake Ginsel fan, and I know he has a Penguins Ginsel jersey. So they're going to be fans who enjoy that. Like you, I like that optimistic pick for the series, Bridge. I'm going to pick a sweep for UNO. They have not gotten a sweep in NCHC play, but when you saw how hard the guys worked up at St. Cloud this last weekend, getting the win on Friday night, getting the tie on Saturday night, and then the shootout win, they're right on the cusp of doing that. UNO under Coach Gabinet has been a solid home team during his tenure. Like I said, Minnesota Duluth has been playing better in the second half of this season, but there's an opportunity against this team. They're not, one of the offensive juggernauts like North Dakota or Denver this season. So UNO has an opportunity if they can play smart, stay out of the box, and get some pressure in the offensive zone. We saw that from UNO when they had success this weekend at St. Cloud, and really when you look back at a number of series this season. So Bridget and I are both picking sweeps on the weekend. It should be interesting to see what happens. Of course, we want all of you out there at Baxter Arena for the series. The Friday game starts at 7:37 p.m. The Saturday game starts at 7:07 p.m. Friday, if you want to watch the game, it will be on CBS Sports Network, so it will not be on NCHC TV as it normally would be. The Saturday game will be at 7:07 p.m. But again, remember, Friday game starts 30 minutes later, and you can also listen to the games locally on the radio here in Omaha at 1290 Coil. They're also broadcast on the Varsity Network app. Mike Valencourt will have the call, and he's, as always, joined by Terry Leahy, who will provide great color commentary on the game. So it should be a fun series. Looking forward to seeing everybody out there. Be sure to follow Mavpuck on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We will have updates as always during this series. And if you want to listen to back episodes of the Mavpuckcast or watch back episodes of the Mavpuckcast, which I encourage you to do because I spend a lot of time putting these videos together for YouTube. You can find links to back episodes at mavpuck.com. But until next time, Bridge, go Mavs.
Go Mavs.